So what is attribution? Attribution is huge, and it's really how do you actually attribute the sale and the equity in the brand. So when we think of attribution, we want to think of the target state of where we are today, of omni-channel. Customers using multiple channels to interact with your brand, but how do you measure that attribution? How do you measure where they actually made that purchase? It really is it's a huge science. It's a very deep area that we're just going to gloss over the top of, but wanted to bring this forward to you. So if we think of multi-channels, how do you figure out, seriously, how do you figure out if someone spoke with someone first, or called the brand first, called the brand call center first, or was on the web and explored? That's the $1 million question. How do we figure out who actually made that difference such that the customer came to you, and not only came to you, but made that purchase? So attribution is assigning that credit to the channel which was most important or most critical to making that purchase. However, in today's world, there's so many different channels that it becomes difficult to attribute. So we're going to go through a couple of models of how the attribution is done today. And what we want to be able to, I flipped too quickly. What we want to be able to understand, pause. Now I'm back on the slide. We want to look at these 6 different types of models. So first touch, last touch, linear, time decay, and position-based and custom. And I would be hesitant to say that any of the larger companies are using anything but custom these days. But if you're in a smaller firm, these would work as long as you're consistently measuring the same way. So when you look at first touch attribution, it's the first person who actually spent time with your customer, and that when that was recorded, it becomes where you attribute that sale to. Last touch is exactly what it means, just like first touch, is the last person who actually pulled that sale over the line is last touch attribution. And these are obviously challenging when you're trying to work those through at a firm, because, oh, I talked to them first. No, I talked to them last. How do you know? Well, as long as you stick to, and there's clear rules of who actually made the sale or how that actually came about, and the attribution is used for commission and sales. So you're attributing those sales to a specific channel, person, or method. So most of the time in a smaller firm, you're going to look at linear distribution or attribution. So this time there's five different touch points. What they've done is divided that equally, straight lined, and assigned equal credit to each part of the journey that the marketing has touched. If there were only 3 points, it would be divided by 3, so 33%. Now, when we talk about time decay, from the time that you've spoken with someone first to the time at the end, it has less relevance to the person as time goes on. So that's the premise of this particular model of time decay. This isn't as widely used as linear, but it is used in some firms. But it's hard to tell really how significant the interaction was. So again, this is fading away. Position-based attribution is when you're looking at using different weightings for the first and last, and it could be different. It doesn't necessarily have to be 40% here and 40% there, but this is an example. So they used 80% of the time you were attributing it to the first and last, and then in the middle they just kind of pushed a little bit. Again, this is a nuanced way of looking at linear, or a nuanced way of looking at time time decay. Now, again, when you're in a larger firm, when you're looking at a larger firm, you're going to be having tons of algorithms. There's whole departments dedicated to determining attribution. Bank of America. When I was at Bank of America, if we did not have, the system was called PEMR. If we didn't have the attribution appropriately set up for a product, that product never was sold, because everyone was looking to make the sale that was going to reflect on their paycheck. So this is huge when you're thinking of marketing and you're thinking of your sales force and your different the different touch points. Even the web-based or mobile-based is going to be attributed and hits someone's bottom line. So again, this has become an area in and of itself, and it's extremely complex. But I wanted you to be able to understand and differentiate between the six different types of attribution. So let me just go back to the end so we can wrap this component up. So again, you're going to look at each of the channels, and you're looking to understand which channel has actually generated that ROI. So that's why attribution relates to brand equity, because ROI, return on investment, is related to brand equity, that lift of the price. Okay, I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Again, this is a whole science into of itself.